Greetings, Marsh here, and welcome to episode 196 of my modded Factorio playthrough. In this episode, we're going to upgrade trains and start tearing out the old bus. Enjoy. While we're waiting for all these bots to catch up, we probably can start some research. Ideally something that takes lots of resources. We don't really need them for anything, but we can absolutely do electric furnaces now. And biopaste if we need it for later. So we can hit that as some research. Then it unlocks the chemical furnace, which we occasionally use. Of course, it doesn't have anything actually in here, so maybe we don't need to research that, but whatever, we will. And the filtering furnace. So it'll be nice to have if we need them. Probably should start at the very end of this list if our purpose is to consume resources. Well, having a tank would be awfully nice. We don't really need it, but it certainly would be powerful. And that'll also require the cannon shells for it, so why not? We'll research scatter shells while we're here. I guess it's just a shotgun, but in cannon form. And also, this is an interesting mod. The armor plating mod. It's pretty straightforward. It's just an item that you create that then becomes an item you can add in and adds health to your machines. Or at least the car, the tank, and that sort of thing. Haven't really used this mod before, but it seems kind of neat, so you might as well research it. And there's also the heavy tank, which I believe is an Angel's tank, but it could be Bob's. Basically, just a very large tank. But they're all kind of the same type of research, so we might as well grab them all. Hopefully, in doing that, we will start consuming some resources here. Specifically, I want to try to get through all of this copper and iron we have saved up. Looks like this one requires the small storage tank as opposed to the inline storage tank. And looks like it's built from this one. I'll just use bots for it. And just place a bunch of them over here. Well, this should be complete enough to go running around and replacing some trains. Why are they coming here to grab the iron? It seems not the best way to do it, but that's what they're doing. Well, okay. So be it. Let's grab some cars and go fix up some trains here. Just want to check each one, make sure they're Mark IIs. Have to remember where all these stations are. Let's see, those are Mark IIs. And so are the tanks. Unfortunately, we can't replace them in place. So I think we're just going to have to do something like this. And then pick them up and waste the resources that are inside, unfortunately. We also need to make sure all of those tanks are upgraded as well. Because having the bigger trains doesn't help. Unless the locations that they unload into are also increased in size. Luckily, these can be replaced in place. So we'll copy that over. Copy the fuel over. And repeat the process. And there we go. We should be able to send these to the circuit depot. And then they will be configured, with the exception of this train, which needs to be set. We'll increase this to stack threshold of 60 for the bigger trains. These ones should request 240 stacks. For the bigger train sizes. We need to get all these trains replaced as well. Well, this is a pretty monotonous process, unfortunately. I'm not sure if there's a better way to do it or not. But I think that's all of them. We just need to copy the settings. Then when we set them to automatic, we'll hear lots of honking as they get configured. Then we need to make sure all of these individual stations are set up. And then we do that by making sure they have 6 stacks available. And change these numbers to be 60 stacks as the minimum. And I think we can copy all of these across. I think they apply. I'll just look at each one that gets updated to make sure nothing else changes besides the changing of the minimum stacks. Okay. The supply side is upgraded. So we just need to change the size of the requests. And this part's also kind of annoying. We already did it here. But we need to upgrade the size of all of these warehouses to a new, bigger size. Because otherwise they're not really big enough. Because right now, they're only requesting 1 train's worth, and it basically fills the whole thing up. So this is unfortunately also kind of monotonous, and we need to shut this down to not request anything. So we can pick it up and put a much bigger version in here, but we gotta kind of do this in the same way that it was done over here. So that's kind of tricky. Something like that. We're getting a warning here. Science 1 overload. It's probably because we're messing with everything. Well, here comes the train. I do want to try to copy this as best I can, but I think we need these red wires in here. So it's not confused. And I think that one is set up. Checking to see if we have too many of one resource, and I think that's kind of to be expected because we've been clicking things around in here. Also, because this is disabled, that's probably why it's doing that. Because now we need 512 of each of these. And before we fix any of the other ones, let's make sure this one actually works correctly. That one needs 1024 because it's got 2 warehouses worth. And the stack threshold is 1 train's worth. So you probably can get rid of this now, because I can just kind of copy this. But time to flip the switch and hope for the best. That it didn't just break a bunch of stuff. Because all of these are now very short. As you can see, it should make a bunch of train requests. Crushed stone above 90%. Well, it's processing it as fast as it can. Yeah, all these are going. That's not great. We should probably keep an eye on it. But I think it will catch up in a bit. But maybe not. Well, that's a lot of requests. I wonder where those bots are going. They seem like they kind of got stuck. Yeah, that's not great. Well, let's see if we can help them. And just keep our fingers crossed that that stone doesn't get above 100k, because I think that's the full point. If it doesn't go back down, we'll have to upgrade stone processing. Okay, so these bots are kind of stuck here. And those empty requests are to be expected, because there's just no resources available right now because we only have the 1 station. hopefully that gives the bots that are stuck here some better options. Of course, I can just pick them up too, and that will help them find their way. So maybe I should be doing that. Looks like we consumed quite a bit of that iron, so we probably can throw more in there. But the trains are starting to arrive, and I think those warehouses are quite big, because there's 2 of them per train, so that should be sufficient. Well, it looks like all the iron's taken care of now. Now we just have this mess. Well, it seemed like this much worked okay. So now we need to upgrade it, which might be kind of difficult. I could probably pick everything up, but the unloaders hooked up to the warehouse because those are configured, so we don't want to include those as part of the blueprint. Then we can just drop it in place. It should slice in perfectly, assuming there weren't any other things causing any issues, but something like this. Now when the robots come by, it should be properly configured. Okay, well that was a pain, but it should be set up right now. So now we need to come through here and set these all to 512. And if set up correctly, this should work. And we shouldn't have this flashing warning anymore. Looks like stone worked its way down. It just needed a little bit of time. Well, there's all the stuff. You can see it did a merge delivery, which we should see right here. Yep. See how it's sending both types of circuits on this train? Because it determined that one station could supply both resources. So it came in, made a request for both resources, and because it's a dynamic station, it's going to send exactly what was requested. And that is the number on the bottom here. Might as well stay here and make sure that it works. So when this gets to 150,000, yep, it stops. So it is working properly. You can copy that one over there. Give it fuel. Now we just gotta let this do its thing. It'll take quite some time. I notice we're out of lead here. That's an odd thing to be out of. So let's see why. And it's we're out of the ore. It's because crotinium. And that's because it's being prioritized for other purposes. So lead is just low on the priority right now. Because I imagine if we looked over here, yeah, it's basically going at full blast, so there's not much we can do about that for now. Sigh, we've got this whole system to upgrade as well. Okay, got all this switched around now. Didn't quite fit because of the position of these silver choppers, but we didn't actually need those ones down there for anything, so we could just leave it as it is and then move things later as required. But all of these are set up, so we should be making a ton of requests, and hopefully that light shuts off. Still short on that lead. Could be that some of these trains here aren't fast enough. But they are the Mark IIs, which is nice, so it's about the most we can expect out of them. Completely out of rubite. Our new mine should be running at full power. It is, it's just not that big of a mine. So we need another one. We might as well use the one we created down here. Okay, there's all the requests. Okay, I think that's pretty good. So the next rubite mine is complete. So let's combine them. It's going to be kind of an annoyingly long belt, but let's send it over here. It's just easier than using a ton of drones to do the same thing. Although, it's pretty busy in here, so maybe we should use some drones. Just because there's kind of a lot going on. Okay, we'll use a supply depot. Well, this stuff isn't going to be here for very much longer. So, as silly as this may be, I kind of just want to pick everything up that's going to be in the path of this belt. Go straight through. But we should probably, like, go up here or something just to make it a little easier. Probably want to get iron pipes in here too. We don't need them. So get that mine going. It'll take a while, but we need every little bit of rubite, it seems. Then we'll come down here. And have it merge with priority from the other mine. And that should get going. We probably should put the other mine on the arm here to keep track of it. Anything else that we're drastically short on here? No, I think we're doing okay. It's just, lead gets the short stick, so it's run out, but that's fine, because there's only so many resources available, and eventually there's not enough. So something has to give. And that should be enough for most of the various trains. We'll probably have to find them at various points of, oh, hey, look, this train hasn't been upgraded yet. But for the most part, they should be. So now, let's tear apart this bus. And it might be easier to use the crawler for this. Now it might be fighting with the regular bots for some of it, but that's okay. Just based on its location, it might be easier. And look at them pick up that stuff and take it everywhere. It might be easier for the bot network to allow the crawler to help out here, because it's kind of far away and it's a lot of work to do. Alright, let's take our old friend down there. Very slowly compared to all other methods of transportation at this point. I've almost forgotten what it's like to drive places. Let's get started. Well, how about let's rip out everything to the east of our new belt. And see how this works. Lots of random junk to pick up. And the base bots will help when they can. We'll have to keep an eye on this thing's battery. Whenever it runs out, that's the sign to put fuel in it, so it runs as efficiently as possible. This thing's going to have a huge inventory of junk when it's all said and done. Since we're already making most of this stuff, whenever we put it on the network, the bot should take it to the proper storage location, if it's all been set up correctly. Of course, some of this stuff isn't on the network, and nothing will happen to it. It'll just stay in inventories. But then we can kind of figure out what to do with it when that time comes. They're pretty fast. Probably faster than the base bots in the short term, since they are right here and they can charge quickly. So when this thing gets to 0 batteries, that'll be assigned to put some fuel in it. And there it goes. Let's just grab a little bit, because once we start it up, it'll keep burning it. But that'll basically triple our power output in the short term. So it requires a little bit of micromanaging, but we can do that to maximize the amount of solar power that it uses. Wow, the inventory is already a third full. Oh, we don't need any of this either. And lots more stuff to tear out. Not all of this is being produced on our new bus, but enough of it is where we will survive. Hey, the base bots are helping. And we're about at the end of an era here that this bus has been with us since almost the very beginning. Now it's time to tear it out. Looks like this thing's about to be completely full. But the bots are still working. So I kind of want to help them a little bit. Uh-oh, the bots are waiting for free space now. Well, that's not good. Well, I guess I can help them a little bit. So we've got 768 stacks of junk, and we're only part of the way through cleaning up the bus. Ah! It's difficult to drive. It doesn't have any power. Okay, now that we're back, we kind of need to try to dump some of this and see where it goes, and kind of determine if we have too much of it. And hopefully the bots take all this stuff to the right locations. And some of this stuff we can kind of just place in another warehouse here, because we know we're going to use it eventually. Like those ore sorting facilities, chemical plants, that kind of thing. We might have to just check after the fact to make sure all these resources went to decent places. But it's a pretty big change for the factory, so it kind of makes sense that some of this stuff is going to go to very sus locations. Okay, we got that all emptied out. Most of the semi-useful stuff went in here that we'll eventually use later. And everything else has kind of been thrown to the network. Hopefully, it went somewhere decent. But for now, this is filling up with junk. We can take care of that later. Looks like they're even dropping belts in there, because there's nowhere else to put them. That's okay. Eventually, we'll get access to them. Gotta very carefully not destroy anything we very carefully sorted out. There we go. It's time for another trip down there. Okay. Time to rip more of this apart. We can try to give the base bots some projects as well. Like all of this. I want to carefully not remove any pipes for now. So bots should be on the way to help. Looks like they are. Hopefully I didn't pull up anything important, but I guess it doesn't really matter. A lot of this stuff is redundant anyway. Probably should be putting speed modules in these things. Or productivity modules, or something. Well, considering they're going kind of slow, we probably want speed modules. That should really help out. And I guess we can just keep moving over. Start tearing apart all of these machines as well, because we don't need them anymore. And we'll keep grabbing more. I don't know what this red wire is doing here. Might have been doing something at some point, so I don't want to break something, so I'm going to leave it for now. I'm pretty sure most of these pipes don't actually go anywhere. But I guess we'll find out if we tear it all up and then find out some machine isn't working because the pipe wasn't connected. And we'll grab all of this too. Well, gotta help the bots out a little bit because it's full in there. Okay, well, guess it's time to make another trip. We got more junk. It's quite busy out here now. Well, we definitely don't want any of the ores or their processed versions. So we don't want sapphirite, stereotype, cruthenium, rubite, bobmonium, or givelite, or the processed versions. We weren't doing any tier 2 processing over there, so we probably don't have to worry about the chunks for now. But we can take care of these other types. And I will change this to just have 1 stack worth to help clear out the inventory here. We're finding ourselves fairly short on construction robots. So, I'm going to increase the limit again to 5,000. That ought to help. And that's the end of this episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.